Hello, ladies and gentlemen. That was a little bit of April Love here. You're listening to Paul Joyce, Country and Conversation on WRGW District Radio, and I'd like to welcome my guest to the program, Mr. Pat Boone. Pat, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I do, Paul. Good to hear you again after quite a long hiatus.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is my first show for those listening out there that might not know, and you were my last guest on my previous show, and it's just a really great honor to have you here. I appreciate it so much.
Well, I'm glad we're both still kicking.
Yeah, you're doing real great, and I forgot to do your real grand introduction. I had one all written up here.
Don't worry about it. If they don't know who I am.
Everything.
Yeah.
Member of the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, and I know you like the living legend from our last interview, the living part, better than legend.
Yes, the living part is the best part.
All right, so I know you're a busy guy, so maybe we could just get started here, if that's all right with you.
Sure, yeah.
And so maybe we could start talking about one of your recent recording projects.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to Rock has been out for a few years, but it's a really great album. And we've listened to a couple of songs from it on this show so far tonight.
Good.
And it's really fabulous, really tasteful, and anyone that has listened to you over the years knows how versatile you are. You can do big band, heavy metal, but you decided to jump back into country again with this album.
Let me tell you about that, because what I did was completely foolhardy. I thought it was a great idea, and I wanted to celebrate 50 years of recording. As you say, it was 5 years ago. And I had been successful in all these different genres of music, more than any other singer that I know. I mean, Ray Charles is the only guy I could think who came close, but oddly enough, he didn't do gospel, although so many of the black singers come from gospel backgrounds, in church and so on, and did their first singing. Aretha Franklin and so many did their first singing in church, as I did. So I decided I'll celebrate 50 years of recording, having had success in country, gospel, rock and roll, pop, folk, patriotic music. So I said I'm going to put out 5 newly recorded albums in this 1 year, thinking that we would stagger them. I would do first one album, then the next, and the next, and the next, and hopefully be getting airplay on one set of stations and then on another set and another. And what I didn't take into account was no distributor or representatives of those distributors will want to go into record stores and try to get them to stock or stack new records, 5 different new records, different genres by one artist in 1 year. I thought it was a great idea, but they didn't. But I didn't know it until after I'd already recorded the album. So I'd had successful records and hits in country, and Ready to Rock was my first country album in many years, and had a great producer named Ray Ruff, a rodeo cowboy from Amarillo who had become a very successful producer at Motown, but still doing a lot of country stuff as an ex-rodeo cowboy himself.
Well, that's kind of ironic, if I just interrupt here for a minute, because I know that I think it was either The Countryside of Pat Boone or Texas Woman was your last country album, and that was on Motown's Nashville label at the time.
Right, and produced by Ray Ruff. So he also produced a gospel album I did for that 50-year celebration called Glory Train. But the country album was a blast because he had come up with a writer who wrote about 10 of the songs on that album, and every one, the demos, sounded like hit records to us. And so the our task was to go in and make my own recordings of those songs and see if we couldn't come out with 2 or 3 hits. But the problem was, the distributor, by the time they got the country album, they'd already put about 3 other albums or tried to jam them into the stores, and the stores just were not willing to take 5 new albums by one artist. And I kept saying, look, they go in different parts of the store. There are different types of music. No other artist can do that. But they weren't impressed. So the country album did not get a lot of play, and I think it really deserved a lot of play. For instance, the NASCAR song It names every track in NASCAR, and you know how big NASCAR is.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's a big market
racing.
for country music listeners too.
Oh man, yeah. And so here I did this song that it's buckle up. It's NASCAR time, and it really rocks. And the NASCAR people did something for me in that song they'd never done for anybody. They made a video. They produced a video themselves with some of the top drivers and cars and all the excitement of NASCAR to go with my recording of the song. And even with that, I got it played on Fox a couple times before a NASCAR event. But it just was difficult to get marketed and promoted. And that's my problem, Paul. I am too eclectic.
No, I was going to say that I don't know of anyone other than maybe Willie Nelson that would release like 4 or 5 albums in one year, who would tackle something like that.
Yeah, and of course he was trying to pay off his tax debt when he did it, and I think maybe he finally got his tax problems resolved. But that was not I was just trying to celebrate 50 years of recording. So the title song, Ready to Rock, I think states my case that I was ready to do some real country rock and country ballads as well.
You've been, as I said, so versatile, but I think that there's nothing more perfect than hearing a Pat Boone ballad, and you have Give Her Thorns and She'll Find Roses, If You Heart, and then the Jim Glazier pen tune, If I Could Only Dance With You, which I think is my personal favorite. Your
really,
version
I
of that.
love that. And by the way, you may notice we had background vocals by members of Earth, Wind, not Earth, Wind, of the Eagles and Three Dog Night.
Yeah, Timothy Schmidt and Chet McCracken.
Yeah, doing background vocals for me on oh goodness, which of the songs? They're all running together in my head right now. Anyway, they did tremendous, and when Timothy Schmidt walked into the recording studio, and I said, "There he is, there's the man," and he looked at me like, "Are you nuts?" He said, "No, you're the man." And for a member of the Eagles to be saying that to me, and for somebody from Three Dog Night, what I had not taken into account was that my career really blossomed, and I had many hit records, and was Elvis's only competition in the 50s going into the 60s. And these members of these big groups, even Bono, when I met him of U2, told me that something I didn't remember, that he and his group had met me, and I'd met them years before. And I said, "We did?" I mean, can you imagine saying to Bono, "You mean we met before and I don't remember it?"
Yeah, I know.
But we were named something else then. We were just getting started in England. You were on tour. We asked to meet you. You were very nice to us, very encouraging. And I forget what their name was then, but it wasn't U2. And so he remembered that. He and Edge and I, this was after a Grammys, when they won for Beautiful Day, they just ran away with the Emmys, no, Grammys, not the Emmys, the Grammys.
It wasn't the award show where you came out dressed in leather, was it?
No, that was. Let me think. That was after that. I think it was the American Music Awards in '97. I think '98.
Yeah, because that's when In a Metal Mood came out. I
In a Metal Mood. So now I branch out into heavy metal classics with big band jazz arrangements, and that thing went halfway up the Billboard chart the first week, because of the appearance on the American Music Awards and all the controversy and the furor and the confusion about how can Pat Boone be singing heavy metal.
Well, I don't think, this is my personal opinion now, Pat,
yeah.
But I don't think that the people that were used to listening to your records, in the 50s and 60s, understood the concept behind it. They just heard Pat Boone, heavy metal, and you were in the costume kind of playing fun
like
a little bit
metal.
at the description of a heavy metal artist, but you were doing really, really tasteful, classy arrangements of these songs, big band style. So I think if they only gave it a listen, they would have had a different opinion.
Yeah, well, the critics, they seemed to think I was trying to be a heavy metal artist, and so they put me down largely. They didn't get the fact that the arrangements were written by the top big band arrangers in the music business. They each one had one song, and they knew they were in competition with each other, and they gave me great arrangements of these songs that had already been massive worldwide hits, but only known to metalheads.